The town was called Silent Hollow. It was a fitting name. The town was nestled deep in a valley, hidden away from the rest of the world. The trees that crowded around it were twisted and gnarled like skeletal fingers. They seemed to claw at the sky as if trying to escape the town's invisible grip. Silent Hollow had once been a bustling hub of life. Now, only whispers of its past remained. The houses stood empty, their windows like vacant eyes staring out at the world. The paint peeled from their walls like shedding skin. The roads were cracked and overgrown. Nature was slowly reclaiming what was once hers. The town was a ghost of its former self. It was a place where time stood still. Sarah and Ben were college students with a thirst for adventure. They were drawn to the unknown, the mysterious, the dangerous. They had heard stories about Silent Hollow, legends whispered around campfires and shared in hushed tones. Most people avoided the town. It had a reputation. It was a place of shadows and secrets.
But we're not like most people, right, Sarah?
Absolutely not. Let's see if the stories are true.
They packed their bags, grabbed their cameras and set off in Ben's beat-up Jeep. Sarah was a photographer. She was drawn to the melancholy beauty of forgotten places. Ben was a writer. He was always on the lookout for a good story. They were both in for more than they bargained for. As they drove into Silent Hollow, the air grew heavy. The sunlight seemed to dim, swallowed by the oppressive atmosphere. The silence was unnerving. There were no birds singing, no dogs barking. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. At the edge of town, on a hill overlooking the silent houses below, stood a Victorian mansion. It was a once grand structure, now crumbling under the weight of neglect. The house loomed over them, its silhouette stark against the darkening sky. The house seemed to watch them as they approached.
This place is something else.
Yeah, it feels like it's staring right at us.
They parked the Jeep at the bottom of the hill and got out. A cold wind whipped around them, carrying the scent of decay and something else, something faintly sweet and metallic. The front door creaked open as if inviting them in, its hinges groaning under the weight of years of neglect. The entry hall was dark and dusty, a forgotten relic of a time long past. Cobwebs hung from every corner, like the house itself was caught in a web of memories. The air was thick with the smell of dampness and decay, a testament to the years of abandonment. It felt heavy, oppressive, like a weight on their chests, pressing down with an almost tangible force. They could hear the sound of their own breathing echoing in the silence. The house felt empty, yet it seemed to whisper secrets of its own. But there was a presence here, a feeling that they were not alone, as if the house itself was watching them.
This place is giving me the creeps. It's like the walls are closing in on us.
Yeah, but we have to keep going. We can't turn back now. We need to see everything, every room, every corner. We need to understand what happened here.
They walked slowly through the house, their footsteps echoing on the wooden floors, each creak a reminder of the house's age. They peered into dusty rooms, their imaginations running wild with thoughts of the past inhabitants. In the parlour, a grand piano sat silent, a ghost of its former glory. Its keys were covered in a thick layer of dust, untouched for years. A fire had once roared in the hearth. Now only ashes remained, a cold reminder of warmth long gone. A chill ran down Sarah's spine, as if the house itself was breathing down her neck. She could almost hear the faint strains of music, the echo of laughter, long gone silent, as if the past was reaching out to her through the veil of time. The staircase was grand, with a sweeping banister and ornate carvings, but it creaked ominously under their weight as they ascended. Each step was a labour, the silence amplifying every sound. The air grew colder as they climbed higher. Shadows danced on the walls, cast by the flickering light of Ben's flashlight. She felt a cold spot on her neck, as if someone had blown on her skin. She turned quickly, but there was nothing there.
Did you feel that? Whispering, her voice trembling slightly.
It's just the wind, his voice lacking conviction.
They were both starting to feel uneasy. The upstairs hallway was long and narrow, stretching out like a never-ending tunnel. The doors to the rooms stood ajar, like gaping mouths waiting to swallow them whole, each creak and groan of the wood adding to the sense of foreboding. The air was thick with anticipation, almost as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. They could hear the sound of their own hearts beating in their ears, a rhythmic drum that seemed to echo through the silent halls. Ben's flashlight illuminated faded portraits on the walls, the beam cutting through the darkness like a knife. The eyes of the people in the portraits seemed to follow them, their gazes cold and unyielding. Their expressions were cold, unforgiving, as if they were silently judging the intruders.
Ben, did you hear that? It sounded like a whisper.
As they passed one room, Sarah thought she heard a whisper, a faint murmur that sent chills down her spine. It was faint, almost indistinguishable from the wind whistling through the broken window panes, but it was there. She stopped, holding her breath, straining to hear it again. The whisper came again, a soft sigh that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves, like the house was trying to communicate.
Ben, did you hear that? It's getting louder.
It's nothing, Sarah. Just the house settling. But his voice wavered, betraying his own fear.
But he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them, lurking just out of sight, hidden in the shadows. At the end of the hallway was a large bedroom. The furniture was draped in white sheets, giving the room a spectral appearance. An antique mirror stood against the far wall, its surface tarnished with age. Sarah felt drawn to it. She walked towards it slowly, her reflection a distorted shadow in its depths. As she peered into the mirror, she noticed something strange. There was a figure standing behind her. It was tall and dark, its features obscured by shadow. Sarah gasped, spinning around to confront the intruder. But there was no one there. She looked back at the mirror. The figure was gone. She took a step back, her heart pounding in her chest. She had seen something in the mirror. She knew it. But what? Suddenly, the house seemed to come alive around them. The floorboards groaned under their weight, each step echoing through the empty halls. The wind howled, seeping through the cracks and crevices, carrying with it an eerie, bone-chilling cold. The shadows on the walls danced with renewed frenzy, flickering and twisting as if they had a life of their own. The darkness seemed to close in around them, suffocating and relentless. Sarah and Ben exchanged a terrified look, their eyes wide with fear. They could feel the malevolent presence of the house pressing down on them, a heavy weight on their chests. They knew they had to get out of there. The sense of urgency was overwhelming, driving them to move despite their paralyzing fear. They turned and ran, their footsteps echoing in the silent house. Each step seemed to reverberate through the walls, a constant reminder of the danger they were in. They raced down the hallway, their blood pounding in their ears. The sound of their own heartbeat was deafening, drowning out everything else. They could hear the sounds of the house coming alive behind them. The creaking and groaning grew louder, as if the house itself was chasing them, but they didn't dare look back. The fear of what they might see kept them moving forward, their eyes fixed on the exit. They stumbled down the grand staircase, their legs shaking with exhaustion and fear. The steps seemed endless, each one a struggle. They didn't slow down until they were out of the house and racing towards the jeep. The cold night air hit them like a slap, but they didn't stop. Sarah fumbled with the keys, her hands shaking uncontrollably. The fear made it difficult to focus, but she knew they had to get away. The engine finally sputtered to life, a sound that brought a small measure of relief. But they knew they weren't safe yet. Ben threw the jeep into gear and they sped away. They didn't look back. They didn't need to. The sense of dread followed them, a constant reminder of the horror they had just escaped. They could feel the house watching them, its malevolent presence reaching out to them. Even as they drove away, the memory of the haunted house lingered, a dark shadow in their minds. The house on the hill remained. It stood silent and watchful, its windows like empty eyes staring out at the deserted town. The secrets of the house remained hidden within its decaying walls. The whispers continued to echo through its empty rooms. The shadows still danced in the flickering light of the moon. The house was waiting. It was waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to wander through its doors. It was waiting to claim its next victim. The cycle would continue. The house on the hill would remain haunted forever.